Happy are those who dream dreams and are ready to pay the price to make them come true. And that is Leon Zwenis, and he's a Belgian prelate. Happy are those who dream dreams and are ready to pay the price to make them come true. Leon Zwenis, and he is a Belgian prelate. Good afternoon, and you're welcome to Female Factor on Today's Woman. And this is a program that we have put in place for women politicians to tell us a little bit about themselves and also their aspirations, what really and how they are combining with issues surrounding their lives, as well as the ambitions for their constituencies that they serve. Well, this afternoon we have the MP-elect for Kpando. We've actually gone into the Volta region, and a very interesting woman, finding a couple of things that may make us think that she is someone who looks at the very little details of life. Mrs. DELA SOWAH, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Right. The first thing I realized was that you had changed your name from Doris, you had dropped one, Doris, to just DELA SOWAH. What inspired this?
I was actually christened Philippine Doris DELA Abuja. And then I realized that the meaning of DELA is so relevant, and it has worked in my life in different ways. So I became very fond of the name, and then I thought I'd rather make that my first name.
So at what point in your life did you take this decision?
I think I took the decision before I entered the university. Because, should I say, when we were younger and in the primary school, people didn't like people to identify them by their local names. And I was one of those people. But then when I truly understood the meaning of my name, I was like, this is the name. And so just before I entered the university, I think I fully went for DELA.
So somewhere along the line, would you say that maybe before we give names to our children, we should take a good look at the name so that it has a meaning to the personality?
I think so, because names work, and my name has worked for me, in the sense that I have, the meaning of the name is Savior is there, or there is a Savior. And I've experienced the Savior being there for me in various stages of my life. And then also I've experienced being used as a Savior in other lives. So I think the meaning of names is very important. It works.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. On that note, be careful what kind of name you give to yourself, even if it is a nickname or any other. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll go more into Mrs. DELA SOWAH's life. Remember, you can communicate with us, contribute to this program, Today's Woman on TV3 or TV3's Today's Woman. TV3 Today's Woman, Today's Woman on TV3 on Facebook. And so we'll get there, communicate with us, ask questions. Give me the questions. I will ask her all the questions that you want her to answer, because next week or within a week or two, latest within 10 days, she's going to be sworn in as a member of Parliament for Kpando. We'll be right back.
Philippine Doris Dela Agoza, Mrs. Dela Sowah's birthday falls on the 23rd of November. She was privileged to attend Achimota School, Mauli Secondary School, and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. As part of her civic responsibilities, Dela was appointed by the late President Mills to serve on the board of the National Investment Bank. She also serves on the Ghana Cylinder and E-Transact Ghana Limited boards.
Production, le poids lourd de la production. Achille Mana, le lion de Toulouse.
As a professional business executive, she ran DAPEC Limited for 16 years and now helps her husband run the Master Speed Limited, a marketing company, and Sun Pro, a construction, janitorial and trading company. She lectures at Junior Wolfby occasionally.
Bala Francis à Toulouse.
Although not a frontline person, did not imagine going into active politics, she believes her calling to touch the lives of people became a factor. Her hunger is to help people achieve their aims, and her gift from God is to put smiles on the faces of the people who hitherto had no hope. Her joy is to see their circumstances improve and their lives change for the better. A lot of people have benefited from this grace in her life. Thankfully, she believes politics will provide the platform for a lot more people to benefit. Calls on her to contest the North Dai seat were declined, as she claimed then that frontline politics was not for her. It took a close relationship with the castle under the late President Mills to heed the call. What started as a joke in the office of the secretary to the president has become a reality today. Dela is amiable and friendly, and a determined woman who sets her heart and eyes on her goals and reaches them. Aside all these qualities and the setbacks that come with it, Mrs. Dela Sowah has been a very loving wife for over 14 years to her school sweetheart, Mr. Theodore Sowah. Her son, Jerome Ni Odote Sowah, never puts wrinkles on their faces.
Welcome back to Female Factor on Today's Woman, and we are still in the studio with Mrs. DELA SOWAH. We've just been looking at a little brief on what she does, really, and who she is. But we still have the chance to get to know this woman properly this afternoon. We've just looked at a little bit about yourself and the fact that you had to be encouraged into this particular area of your life, which is politics. Was this something that you had never dreamt of going to do at all?
Yes. I had never dreamt of going to stand elections to be an MP.
So how did it come to you? Was it like a shock that somebody would just sit there and think that you were a good material for a member of parliament for your area?
Well, it wasn't a shock. Maybe I knew I could do it, but then it never occurred to me to go and do it. It's like several of us sitting in our homes would see that, look, I could do this work very well, but then you think, oh, it's not for me, it's for other people. So that was how it was for me. It's like, yes, I know I can do it, but then it never crossed my mind to actually go out there and do it.
So what was the experience like? Was there a point in your campaign that you thought, wow, I made a mistake by accepting to be a member of parliament?
No. That didn't happen at any point in time at all. The campaign was hectic. There were challenges, but the challenges actually strengthened me, because if you believe you have a calling, some of the signals that I look for are challenges. If everything is smooth, then I'd be very wary of taking that step. So it never occurred to me that I had made a mistake.
Share your experience with us in campaign, because a lot of women will tell you that it was a very difficult campaign for me. What was it like to be campaigning in the Kpando constituency?
It was fun. I had the support of the party executives, the campaign team, and the people just opened up to me. It was real fun. I enjoyed it. It was hectic. Sometimes we'd have to leave home before 5 and then come back by 9, or even past 9. There are people still waiting to see you. It wasn't an easy thing, but it was fun. I enjoyed every bit of it. There were instances where we had to go on foot or go by boat.
And then we saw the boat bits of it.
Yes.
And that brings to mind the concerns of your constituency. What are they looking forward to as a constituency from a member of parliament, even though we know that members of parliament are only supposed to be helping make laws?
Yeah, it's very interesting because, like the people living on the islands, you go there and they say, when is the government bringing us lights? And there are no roads leading to the place. You go by boat. Then you pause a minute and then they remind you, we've had the solar. So even if you can't bring the regular electricity, then bring a solar light.
So these are people who are well in tune with technology.
They are. I mean, you'd be very surprised. People, I realized, are very savvy, and then they are very politically informed. If you think you're dealing with rural crowd, you'll be disappointed. They have the knowledge.
So what demands were they making?
The usual things: water, electricity, health issues, just the usual demands.
You know, we ask these questions, and particularly our viewers would want to ask these questions because these are things that sometimes we think that a rural community and a member of parliament for a rural community may be looking at things differently from somebody in an urban community. Because, for instance, you may think that you may need maybe health facilities, you may need education and other facilities that we find here in the urban areas as most important. And then some will also tell you that, no, rural communities will tell you one thing or the other, for which you may think is absolutely unnecessary at this point because there's the need to bring that up. Did you encounter those difficulties?
No, because I realized that the media has actually bridged that gap very, very well. So people in the rural communities, as we call them, they are looking forward to the same things people in the urban communities are looking for. And they'll tell you these are indicators to show that a place is no longer a village. And they'll mention light, water, and things like that. And so you find that the needs that you think, oh, these people don't need it, are the very needs they also have.
Right. Constituency creation. That was one of the big things that happened this year, apart from the biometric voter registration. We've had a lot of women groups asking that most political parties, especially like the ones that you are coming from, NPP and NDC, who have the majority, especially as being the major political parties, should field more women in their strongholds. You are coming from one of the very strongholds of the NDC. Mm-hmm. And so do you think that this is a very good way to bring in women into politics and making sure that women are able to get seats in parliament?
Well, maybe it is a good way, but I don't think the party deliberately made room for any woman by way of saying that this constituency should only be contested by women. At the primaries level, I contested against 5 other people, 2 other women, including myself, and 3 men. It was a fair game. So much as it would be laudable to say women should take the safe seats, if I should call it that, I don't think democracy allows that. It's like you all fight it out. Whoever wins, that's it.
Right. Politics, Christianity. You are a staunch Christian.
Yes.
And then you go into politics. How do you combine this? Because we've been told politics is a very rough game. And for Christians, somewhere along the line, you're busy with other things.
It's very interesting because I got asked that question a few times on the campaign trail, because my husband is a part-time pastor, and then somebody will come and say, how can a pastor's wife be standing to be a member of parliament? But it's so interesting because in my thinking, if one person didn't do it right, it doesn't mean that all Christians can't do it right. I'll take my example from the Bible and take somebody like Daniel. Daniel was a politician and a very good one. He actually served under 3 presidents. And another example is David. David was chosen by God to be a ruler of Israel. That's a political appointment, and he did it very well. And then Joseph. Joseph was one day prisoner. His godliness sent him to prison. His godliness made a way for him to be prime minister of Egypt. And we are all aware that he did it very, very well. I think more Christians should go into politics, and then if that happens, this nation will see a huge difference.
Before we take our break, are Christians ready to take the risk that comes with holding office? Because that is one thing that they are said to be a little bit laid back and dull when it comes to politics.
I think if you're a risk taker, you're a risk taker, whether you're a Christian or not. And I don't think my Christian values prevented me from stepping forward. I believe it was probably one of the main reasons that I accepted. I agreed with myself that I had to take the position.
Okay.
Yes.
On that note, there's a lot more to Mrs. DELA SOWAH than you would expect. You think that she's so quiet, sitting down, so there isn't much to pick from her. But there's a lot more. A very strong woman, someone who pays attention to details. So when we come back, we'll still be looking at some of the questions that are being put to her for her campaign and politics. I've just got a couple here as well. And also move on into family, a little bit about party politics as it is, apart from campaigning. What was it that she did in the NDC, and how has it reflected in her work for her constituency? We will be right back.
Until go be your mama and mote, you know, swallow the man, and mama ding a penamo. Again, a mama that do a man, and got no man, you are people, and got no man, and got no man, I got no pone, a young being a do, or yan alone, baby, alone, my 58. Along the shushuwe matariamen so to go day and in my trayo il ma manti il est méchant il marino bisang je suis brisé maman je veux divorcer.
Welcome back to today's Woman Female Factor, and we still have in the studio Mrs. DELA SOWAH. You can still contribute to this program on Today's Woman on TV3 or TV3 Today's Woman. And we've just had a message from Prince Wise Yegbe, and he says, Honorable MP, congratulations, and please answer these questions for me. And that's what he is requesting. What is the secret behind your success in life?
It's God.
2, in months of campaigning, did your pocket still survive after others said they had run down on money?
If God is your source, you can never run dry. Prince, if God is your source, you can never run dry.
The prince is a little bit curious because of the pictures that he's seeing on TV. He thinks there are some very big wigs behind your campaign. And also, if you were one of the losing MPs, how will you cope with life after wasting that huge amount in your campaign?
Thankfully, I'm not one of the losing MPs, so I can't answer that. I didn't go into the campaign expecting to lose, and so I didn't have a plan B.
What was the confidence for a success, that you are going to be elected?
It's God. I may sound strange, but I heard from God, and I was convinced that I heard him.
Okay. And the last one, can you please disclose the amount you spent before getting the nod? Prince from Kpando, but lives in Takoradi.
Prince, I didn't take account of how much I spent, but money was available to get the job done at every stage.
Okay. Did you have a good support from the family, or it was one of those things? You hear a lot of women say, my family said it is either my marriage or my ambition.
No, I didn't have that. My husband is a very reserved person, and I'd say very unpolitical. And when I first mentioned to him that I had intended to stand, because I needed his permission, of course, and his first response was no. Then a few weeks passed, I approached him again. I said, look, this is God. And then his answer was, if it is God, I'm not at loggerheads with God. Let him talk to me. So we left it at that. And then he also sought God, and 2 weeks after he said, I won't be a hindrance, you can go ahead.
You didn't have to do any other, as in trying to find ways to convince you.
No,
it wasn't something that you were thinking about, that I need to speak to my husband about this. There's got to be a way out of this.
You know, I knew his answer would be no. If it was, should I say, an emotional or a physical answer, I knew it would be no. But I knew if the answer came from the angle of a spiritual answer, it would be yes. So I let that do the work, and it worked.
Okay. Zacchaeus, Yeboah says, in fact, this woman is ambitious. Are you that ambitious?
It depends on what he means by ambitious. What he means by my being ambitious. Because like I said, being an MP wasn't something I had considered in the past. It was something that came all of a sudden. So if that is what he's talking about, then I don't know how to answer him. But then also I'd say that I have great expectations and great hope for a better future, just like everybody else has. I'm sure you are also seeking to better your life. That, I think, it's a human virtue, and I possess it.
Right. Your work, over the years, you've been to a couple of jobs before coming into politics. Would you say that was a launch pad for you to get into? It prepared you for the work ahead?
I'd say yes, even though I didn't know at the time that it was preparing me. But I've taken some very daunting challenges in the past. Like several years ago, I had to set up a company in Zambia. And going from Harare to Zambia by road, the lions we met on the road live, the head of elephants, those are all things that probably would scare other people. But those experiences were good experiences for me in the sense that now being on the campaign trail, nothing could, terrify me. I couldn't see water and say, I'm not going to the island to talk to the people. I couldn't see a mountain and say, I'm not going to climb this. For me, the experiences in my work in the past, managing people, relating with people of different levels, all prepared me for today. Even though at the time I didn't know it was training ground, but now I know those experiences really were training ground.
NDC, Volta region, would say it's a stronghold, and so you didn't have to do a lot of work. But what kind of work were you doing behind the scenes for the NDC before you launched into the Member of Parliament campaign?
You see, I realized that, like you say, NDC is a stronghold. Volta is a stronghold for NDC. That was the story, but we looked at some statistics, and then I realized that maybe where in the past a party like MPP would get 50 votes, now they were getting 1,000 votes, then 2,000 votes.
Was it scary?
It was scary because then it means something is not right. There's something the people are not happy with. And I did a bit of work trying to find out what areas the party was faulting and what measures we could take to reduce the decline.
And that's one thing. But
yeah.
You were not officially holding a position in the party.
No, I wasn't officially holding a position in the party.
Then there must be a secret to this very success.
I was a member.
A good member.
A good member.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a week ago, unfortunately, Christmas, and then there's the big bang that your minister, the Volta regional minister, is in a critical condition, and then it's confirmed that he's passed on. Was that a shock?
It was, because for some of us, Christmas was Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Some of us had seen him on Sunday, and he was healthy and he was fine. And then Monday you hear there's something happening, and then Tuesday you hear he's passed on. It was a big shock.
If you have to describe the minister, how would you describe him?
A perfect gentleman. He was a good person. He was, one word sums it up. He was a perfect gentleman. That's what I'd say.
A replacement?
I think the party has a lot of people with equally good virtues. So I'm sure it's within the leadership of the party to come up with a good replacement.
Okay. We'll take a breather on this note. When we come back, she's been in management a lot of times. And we still ask ourselves, are women up to the task when it comes to managing state institutions, state issues? What would be Mrs. DELA SOWAH's answers to these questions? We'll be right back.
Go be your mama and more day, you know, swallow be your man. A mama ding up in the more. Again, a mama jet to woman, nothing. I got no number. You are people, I got no number. I got no more. I got no pony. A young and it to do. Oh, yeah, alone, baby. Alone, my 58. Along the shushuwe matagayamen swatugo te ayena ilma trayo poshu ilma manti ile meshang ayena ilma rino bisanga je suis brisé.
You're welcome back on Female Factor on Today's Woman. We still have in the studio Mrs. DELA SOWAH, and Boy Kels says she's very calm, but I want to ask her, should a guy trust? Why should a guy trust a lady? And another one said, "Mom, you just made me proud of being a lady. God bless you, Mrs. DELA SOWAH." Okay, right. Management. I realize that you are on 3 boards.
Yeah.
With all these 3 boards, what do you see about management of our government institutions in this country?
I think if the boards do a good job, the institutions won't have problems. I mean, one has to be very alert. One has to do the research, know what is required, and then be firm. And I think once you do that, you should be able to have very good results.
Right, but is there a way that sometimes you look at it and you think that maybe there's a way that boards can have or help management have certain results that are not being followed or pursued? Or maybe there's a management style across board that you think that if we could enhance or drop a part, we could do better?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at NIB, for example, it was on the
diversity.
It was actually almost, should I say, gone, if I should use that word. But the board working together with management, I think in 2 years, it moved from a negative position to a profitable one. And the bank is doing very well now. So there should always be that, should I say, cooperation between the board and then management. Styles can be changed easily in the interest of the organization. And once that is done, you will see a forward movement or an upward movement of the organization.
Should women be trusted with public positions, especially when it comes to cutting down on corruption?
I think so. I think women, women handle management naturally because you manage the home, you manage children, and generally speaking, I don't want to get in trouble with the men, but generally speaking, women are, I don't want to use a word that will get men on my tail, but women can be trusted. Let me just put it briefly. Women can be trusted.
Okay. These are very short questions that I'm going to put. you and the youth. Looks like you do a lot of work with them.
Yes.
What is that link between yourself and the youth?
I realized that as a youth, if certain things were done in my life, I would have been better placed. I don't know what to say, because people would say I'm already better placed, but there were things that I felt I needed encouragement to get over with. And so when I find people in that age bracket, I get drawn to them, and then I want to help them and to show them that you can make a mistake with your life. You can make a choice, and that choice will affect you negatively for the rest of your life. And you can make a choice that will affect you positively for the rest of your life. So I naturally get drawn to young people to encourage them and to help them develop to achieve their goals, or even if they don't have one, to help them shape goals for themselves that they can reach and make a better life for themselves.
You have looked for work for young people, or help them to look for employment a lot of times. Is there a way that sometimes you think that instead of young people waiting to get a job, they could also do something on their own to stand?
Yes.
Is that a trait that we have in this generation?
I think this generation, a lot of people are looking for already made things. They're looking for white-collar jobs, or they want guaranteed income. But there are opportunities there for young people to take, especially in agriculture and food processing, that I think if young people rose up to the challenge, they wouldn't look for anybody to employ them. They themselves would be employers of labor, which is one thing I encourage a lot of the youth I come into contact with, that look, you can do it yourself. There were some young guys I worked with who went into farming, and they are doing very, very well with their farms, and even thinking of graduating it into processing, food processing. So I think, generally speaking, if the youth looked more at doing something for themselves, they will be better placed.
Right. Bonding with your family. In the little bit of reading I did on you, I realized that you spoke fondly of your family. You spoke fondly, especially of your stepmothers also. What was the secret, and what is missing in this generation that we are not taking opportunity of?
I have a wonderful family, extended family. I have a wonderful father. Although he has several children, he cared for all of us. And should I say, he was really eager that we should make something with our lives. My mother is the one who probably introduced me to Christianity or to God. I mean, she introduced me very early to the writings of Kenneth Hagin of blessed memory, and I have that. And then I have stepmothers who imparted my life in one way or the other. I have a stepmother who I accredit taught me to cook. I have and
you still pick your food sometimes.
Yes, and then I still pick my food, any opportunity I have from her house. And then I have a stepmother also who practically for a lot of my, should I say, most part of my growing years raised me.
But you always refer to divine intervention.
Yes.
And if that is it, is it something that ruled your life and continues to rule it in such a way that it makes you look forward to something new?
Yes, yes. I mean, as for that aspect, I can't underplay it, because I've had it since I was 3. I went out with my elder sister, Joyce, and my young aunt, and I was actually stolen, if you should put it that way. And but for the divine intervention I talk about, I would have been lost for good.
A short message to the constituency, Kpando, and then also for us Ghanaians who are going to be looking at you in Parliament to contribute to the kind of work that is supposed to be done there. Very short one before we go.
I've said to the people of Kpando that this is our year of change. I mean, 2013 begins our year of change. I'm very confident that they'll see a difference. Not in my strength, but there again in the strength of the one I've always trusted. To Ghanaians as a whole, I think there are good things ahead of us, good times ahead of us, and we should all be grateful to God for where He's brought us, how far He's brought us. And once we are thankful, the coming years will be even better.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Right, on that note, we'll have to say a very big thank you to you also. And a happy new year. All the best when you are sworn in. We'll have to say a very big thank you for keeping the peace in this country, and also for all the women who have contributed to this program, those who have watched us, and all those who are yet to watch us. To the generality of Ghanaians, a very Merry Christmas, belated one, and a Happy New Year, which is coming Tuesday. Let's hope for peace for this country, to develop this country. We'll have to take a break, not a break, a few days. We'll see you next year. It's not far, it's just a few days. So next year we'll be seeing you. We had in the studio Mrs. DELA SOWAH. She's MP-elect for Kpando. She has given us a lot to chew on. Christianity, looking forward to divine intervention. And one of the things that I'll be looking out for is peace for this country, unity for this country, forgetting about our differences and looking forward to the best of life for us all. Happy New Year. Let's hope that next year when you meet us, Alexis and I, there'll be a lot more to look forward to. Happy New Year.
No green, rich, no being